welcome teachers and students all over the world, patients, those suffering. Hopefully a rare case, not so rare these days, for reasons that will be discussed at some other time. This patient was presented to me via referral from another chiropractor who's very aware of the Atlas work, and he is learning through the Dr. Roy and Matthew Sweat Atlas orthogonal program that I teach in Australia. And she had a poor response to a manual adjustment that was executed with fine skill and technique. And she also had some dizziness symptoms and some unusual symptoms that we usually associate with either brainstem compression or pathology, or that we associate with brainstem compression or pathology. Sorry if you hear cockatoos in the background, this is Australia.
Trust the experts, trust the experts.
This should alert the upper cervical chiropractor to possible instability, possible ligament damage, and the inability to hold an adjustment, the inability to withstand a manual adjustment. Anyway, we got her in and we x-rayed her and we looked at the alignment process. We checked the hypersensitivity of the neck muscles, etc. We also took several dynamic views where we go through the open mouth to see the C2 and the C1 in situ, and also with the dens peg, which is the peg at the top of C2 vertebra. And we moved it to the left and to the right. And so in those situations, the C1 and C2 should track together. They should be married like a very happy, loving couple, with certain characteristics of motion being allowed. And lo and behold, my suspicion was correct, that she'd also had trauma, and that was the key, because pre and post adjustment she wasn't changing. My palpatory skills were telling me that she was not improving at all. The patient appeared to have a trauma that was not fixing itself, and that one of the ligaments or more were not doing their job, and they were moving the C1 and C2 far too much. And you'll see in the photos the overhang that I found, and the overhangs that are abnormal. Greater than 2 or 3 millimeters should be treated very, very suspiciously. Anyhow, what was the history? Yes, riding horses, car accidents. Horses, accidents. Horseless carriage and horses. A time-worn way of injuring the neck by accelerating it and decelerating it very quickly. Acceleration, deceleration syndrome, or whiplash. Anywho, the first horse accident was at a very young age. I must have been pre-8 years old, so that would have been the initial injury. I said to her, if you stopped riding there and then and got some correction, you might have never had these problems. You keep riding, you get on, you get, obviously people who just have their kids doing all these traumatic things. And I see it today in soccer players and gymnasts, and where the kid just keeps going and going without proper addressing of symptoms. I wrote a case recently about a female softballer that was very interesting, where she was one of the greatest pitchers I ever met or was ever seen in the sport in Australia. And her neck was in almost a state of dislocation. And I'll link to that article. And basically, with her, the early injury, the twisting, the misplacement of the neck, and certainly the trauma on the ligament has never healed, in my opinion. And so this woman has been referred to various choices in what is the next portal of her care, because unfortunately, I don't think chiropractors are ever going to be able to correct this, or I certainly haven't made an indentation on this positioning or correction thereof. So we do encourage imaging, we do encourage the stress images of flexion at the extreme. It's a backward fact in this country that we do not have dynamic motion x-ray or DMX, and if it is out there, it's not really used by or accessible to chiropractors, and so we need to correct this problem. But I hope you've enjoyed this case. It's a a very important step for this woman's recovery is to identify the trauma, whether she's up for a visit to the Centeno Schultz Clinic in Colorado or somewhere like that in the US that could perhaps strengthen the ligaments. That remains to be seen, and also so that you know that someone's not getting better, you just do not proceed. You stop, look, listen, discuss, imaging, and assessment of the integrity of those upper cervical ligaments is part of your job, and it's one of the most important things for putting the person on the right path to their health empowerment. Thank you for listening to Case of the Day number 10.